Indians are only giving it. Nobody else.
That's great. It's a beautiful area. It's really pretty.
Like it starts in around 5 minutes, I think.
I love that area.
One of the managers of actresses.
It's coming nicely.
One of the elements of his star
You can point it at him for a while.
Just let people know that he's there.
hearing other renditions from you, and hopefully someday we can make that the program that we all come here for. Welcome, friends. Thanks for making the time for us today and being here. It really means a lot to us. It takes much to create impact and make progress. It really takes a community, and I think the community that has tirelessly worked to make India matter is all here today, and that includes our friends in the simulcast. And hello, I think you can see us. We can feel your energy from the simulcast over there, and I hope you will forgive us that we can't accommodate everyone in this session. We have about half the people here, half the people in our workspace in a simulcast. We have about 2,000 people live streaming and watching this event right now. So a big hi to everyone. And I want to just take a few minutes before we get on with the program of the day, talking about the backdrop to what K-Start is and how we got to be. Kalari has been thinking for a long time on what are the things we can do to create a better and a better ecosystem in India for entrepreneurs to innovate, create, disrupt. And Kalari's solution was to set up a separate fund called K-Start. It's not on. Okay. I was hearing myself, so I thought, you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, Kalari, so should I say hi to the people in simulcast again? Okay. Hi everyone, simulcast, live stream. We didn't forget about you, just the mic was not on apparently. But Kalari decided to set up a separate fund. We call it K-Start, as you can see today. And as we were thinking about that, we said, does India need yet another seed program? We know there are a lot of seed programs, and we looked at it to say, is there anything in particular different that we can bring that can create anything of importance? But before I go into that, details of that, I want to share a little backstory, because many of our decisions come from experiences we have had in our life. I was a tech entrepreneur in the Valley a long time ago, but I did that for about a decade. So I'm familiar with the trials and triumphs that entrepreneurs go through in transforming their idea into reality, into a business, into creating shareholder value. I wanted to take those moments of experiences, frustrations, the low points, and think about what could have been done to just lend a small helping hand. Because at the end of the day, the hard journey is the path the entrepreneur walks. All of us, the catalysts, the mentors, the investors, can all sort of be the balm, if you will, to help make the journey smoother, easier. But everyone has to do this rite of passage by choice that they have embarked on. So, and it defines some of our core values down. And velocity of creation, the opportunity to create great companies is better than ever before, but the number of companies that are going to cross that metaphorical finish line, if you will, that percentage is going to be smaller. All of us, how many here have an engineering degree? So you know the math, everyone here it seems, other than the investment bankers that are in this business. So, and they are the ones writing the check, so make sure you took note of who didn't raise their hand. I'm an engineer, okay? So, so the venture industry has to allow for rapid prototyping, a space for innovating, space for creating, allowing for failure to happen as needed, allowing time to regroup. But you see, that's something that's not as easy for our industry to do, because we have our own charter, and this is constantly, every panel discussion is about the dark side. It's really not a dark side, I can tell you, because I've been on both sides of the table. If you as an entrepreneur start understanding what is defined by the venture industry is about finding that unicorn that can then produce the returns that underwrites the many ideas that didn't work, and that is core to the industry to work. So we looked at Kaladi, as we conceived of K-Start, we wanted to create an environment and an ecosystem that can inspire and support young people with passion to change the world and push them to dream big and address fears and challenges head on. However, there is a cost of doing that. The cost to do that is not when you've raised your $10 million, let alone your $100 million. The cost of failure to that is very high. I push my children to bounce off of the walls so that they fail early in their life, learn from that. Failures at later stage in life cost you more than failure at the early stage in life. And that's the same thing for startups as well. So in creating K-Start, what were the guiding principles for us? There are probably about 5 factors I want to share with you in brief. One, of course, core to everything is capital. That's the prime mover. I was in Mumbai on Saturday, I think, at the ESL. I was on a panel. This was done in Jest, and somebody asked me how it felt to be a capitalistic pig. So, and that's who we are. So, and I say that with humor because capital is the prime mover. It's needed. We can dream big, but you need money to be able to go build this. And Ajit is sitting right here who said that. So, one question was, what's our equation in capital with the entrepreneurs, specific to K-Start? We think that there is a gap or an opportunity at the most vulnerable stage of raising capital on establishing fair standards. That's core to K-Start, and the capital we offer at the seed stage is offered as a convertible note. And if you don't know what that is, I think we have an article in Medium. You should go read that or Google search it. Before you ask anybody, before you do a pitch, before you ask anybody for money, go figure out what that is. And that's what we bring as a standard to offering capital to companies that are selected into K-Start. We are also patient investors. Patient investing is important. It takes a long time to create a company. All the stories that you read about meteoric rise, they're all wrong. I don't know a single company and a single founder who hasn't gone through the same valley of fear, the same darkness to say, is there a day where my idea is going to see the light? How am I going to pay the bills tomorrow? And do I really have I'm going through the existential questions. I think all companies, all entrepreneurs go through that. And what you want to surround yourself with is a supportive network and patient investors. Obviously, everything has constraints. Patient has constraints on how long patient means. But we tend to be invested in companies for 6, 7, 10 years. And I think that's sort of the quantum of time that we are talking about here. And we are unfazed by temporary market variations. One more time that I'm asked about the winter coming, and I don't know from where these media buzzwords get picked up. I must have been asked 100 times, what do you think about the winter coming? Spring follows winter, okay? So we take a long-term view to opportunity and backing the entrepreneur. The second part of it, where we spent time this morning, was with our catalysts, who are mentors that come together to support the companies that we invest in. Many of them are here. I won't go through names, including Mr. Tata, I see in this front row, Mohan and Padma Shri Warrior, Zia, Meeta, Anil, and so on and so forth, David Rowan, and some others sprinkled, Muttaya over there. And if I miss somebody's name, it's all on the website that we launched today, so please look it up. Kritika is somewhere here. Varsha is unable to be here today, but she signed up to mentor young entrepreneurs and startups. I'm also excited that we have deep partnerships with large technology companies that we have brought together for our portfolio companies, and hopefully some of that knowledge and experience we can open to the broader ecosystem, and our goal is to be supportive of the entire ecosystem wherever and whenever we have the opportunity to do that. This afternoon you'll hear from Vanita at IBM and Sunil at Google, and I don't know if Sunil is here, but back there. So on what they're doing, why they're so committed to the startup ecosystem, and really a very exciting program on how companies can access these large entities for technology, for resources, for actual hard cash credits, as well as access to markets. We also have K-Start Institute, which is to continuously upskill entrepreneurs and management teams. And Anil here is our academic director. Catch him to know more about it when he's here. Look up on the website. He's back in April or May to do the first institute program. And then this space, which Raghava christened it as ReSpace, and he has words for everything: recode, reimagine, reinvent. And our CFO, who has some marketing bones in him, said the reception is still called reception. So, but otherwise we have read everything as a read that we have added to the space. And by the way, I think there's a Twitter storm on you being able to give your words to redefine the space and what you think about it. We would love to hear. There's a curated book you can take home on all the art and the making of it. And this came about because, and Raghava will speak more on this in a few minutes, but this came about because we really think the environment and the energy to innovate, to create is very important aspect of founding companies' ability to rethink, reimagine, impact, be impact makers. So we hope to have many companies use the space as the beginning of their journey. And just 2 minutes before we start the journey, I wanted to leave a few thoughts behind for entrepreneurs, just from my years of experience as both an entrepreneur and a venture capitalist. Don't make short-term decisions based on valuations and dilutions. I see this every day, and I'm baffled why your long-term value creation and sustainability of companies get emotionally tangled into temporary market dynamics. Think long-term and don't worry about some of the small compromises you have to make today, or what you think is a compromise you have to make today in being successful and making the big thing happen for the long term. And don't get caught into yesterday's models of building a business. I still get a lot of business plans on I'm doing another grocery chain or something else, and I'm doing laundry, I'm doing something else. Those are companies that have already been funded. If 15 companies have been funded in a space, unless you are Google, the 16th search engine, rethinking something, then don't send that business plan. Work on something that is unique, be radical, go after a new industry or disrupt existing one, but don't be a Me Too company. And the insights of great companies ultimately, the success of great companies ultimately comes down to simple elements of unique understanding you have about some space, about some problem, backed by perfect execution. I heard somebody say the other day that vision without execution is simply hallucination, and I think that's right on, right? So with all of that, I'm as eagerly waiting as you to launch this session, and I would invite Mr. Tata to join us here on the stage.
Wanted to capture moments where you're unguarded. So that was the idea behind the chairs. But we are, how should I say, we are very parochial on certain things. So much of the furniture you see here is from Urban Ladder, and we are investors in the company. So how wonderful these chairs are, Mr. Tata. Since the time that we announced that Mr. Tata is coming to K-Start launch, I've just been getting numerous requests, phone calls, to be in this space, and some of the things have been, meeting Mr. Tata has been my biggest dream. Please allow me to come to the event and so on. Just very heartwarming, touching notes, and we're flattered that they want to come here at all, whether it's for the space, whether it's for K-Start, or whether it is to have their moment with Mr. Tata. And I have to share with all of you that he's also one of my big heroes and inspiration for many years, predating the opportunity to meet him and get to know him a bit. So it's my great pleasure, sir, to welcome you here. And one of the first questions, or one of the first questions I want to make is, every time I've met you or been with you, I go away profoundly touched by the graciousness, how grounded you are, and yet, how inspiring you are to people with every action and every conversation that you have with them. And how did you get to be that way? What makes you so?
I guess you have to ask my mother.
And what would she say?
I would, she probably tell you to talk to my father.
You have had years to reflect. You have had years to reflect on it. What's the legacy that they left behind to make you so?
Oh, I think that's a very difficult thing to answer. It becomes part of your childhood, partly the experiences you had. I think, to me, the most significant thing that happened in my life was, which many of the people in the room have also experienced, is going off to the US to go to college. From a very sheltered childhood into a big university where you're little more than a number, and suddenly you're thrown into a system of merit solely, no longer an entity. And it's very humbling and very down to earth. And I think that experience, which most of us have had, brings us to a sort of level of equality that is very valuable. I hope the country one day can boast the same kind of, that India can boast the same kind of thing in the years to come.
Sunita, you want to get those pillows? Sunita is curated a space, architect.
Urban ladder also?
Sunita and the team were up all night. I came here after the LP dinner at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and you didn't see the space this way. So a lot of people have been up all night to get this ready, and few small things like pillows need to be done real time. And when you're an entrepreneur doing a product demo, which is what we are doing right now, demonstrating our space, there are glitches. We just have to go along. So, Mr. Tata, we didn't talk about what we were going to talk about today at all, and you didn't ask me what I was going to ask you. So, since I was given no conditions, right, so I'm going to sort of go with the flow that I wanted to ask, okay? I just thought what would be wonderful for me, for many of the founders, is to take the next 30 minutes and capture the journey of an entrepreneur from your point of view, from your years of experience, but having you put yourself in our shoes, as in the entrepreneur's shoes, okay? So if we begin at, and I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea because I didn't brief him on this, so we'll just go along and figure this out, right? So if we begin at the beginning about ideas and founders, right? If you were 26 years old and decided to jump into the fray of entrepreneurship, how would you go about starting a company?
I think the manner of starting a company is fairly out in the open. You look for funding, you look for somebody that you can inspire or...
How would you select an idea? What idea would you go after? How would you go after an idea?
I think some of us have ideas all the time, and for me, for example, very often ideas come when I see something not working well, and I think that's probably what most people do. You have enough of a solution orientation to sit down and say, how can this come to work better, or faster, or less expensively, etc. And then there are those of us who leave those thoughts in our heads, and the others that try to build an enterprise around that. And then you have to go put flesh and blood behind that in terms of funding, in terms of getting a team together, etc.
So how would, and again, there are many paths to heaven, as they say, but many ways to do a company. But would you be excited by the scope of the opportunity from a market or difficulty of the problem and solving that? What would motivate you?
I think it could be either way. There'd be a moment where you see a market opportunity, which again probably dwells around a space that's not covered or underserved. And you build an idea around that. And sometimes those ideas don't work, and sometimes they do. I've lived 20, 30 years in the smokestack industries, the traditional industries where you need millions of dollars to do something which is probably a small delta improvement over what you have. But it's the same process. And here what's wonderful about the age we're talking about is the initial money involved is small, and you can put your idea to work much easier than you can't build another steel plant every year. You can't develop a new process for producing cars just overnight, but you can do that in the startup community that exists today. You can put an idea into words, either in software or within the design of a chip or design of a system, and you can change the way the world looks at a certain area of the market. And I think that's what's wonderful and invigorating about what there is here. And with humility, I have to say that in the short period of time that I have been involved in this segment, there have been many occasions when I have felt that this couldn't possibly work. And I've seen success happen, and I know that I'm wrong, and I swallow my thoughts. And each time I realize that I'm on a learning curve of seeing what young, intelligent people can do, with one very important addition, and that's technology development around them they can use and employ and apply to what they're trying to do. If I just go on, the advent of the smartphone, if you look at the impact that has had on the various startups that exist, the opportunities that exist, and the ability to make those ideas work, if you didn't have the smartphone, many of them would go away. And so that's just an example of how technology today, or imaging technology, or just computing power as a background to making your idea work, helps you create enterprises today which you couldn't possibly do 20, 30 years ago. And that's just hedging that if you want me to go back to when I was 24 years old, it would not be possible to be as prolific as one is today.
True, but you're a 26-year-old today, so put yourself into the 26-year-old today, which, by the way, you're doing every day with all the encouragement to entrepreneurs and personal investments you're doing. I know how much it means to each one of them when you say, yes, I believe in your idea and I lend you my support. And but I also think you answered our question on what makes you inspiring and gracious. One part of that is willingness to listen and accept if you are wrong about something in your consideration, and we get caught into many human factors that don't always allow us to do that, and it's very inspiring to learn that aspect. But along those lines, what then would be your defining, I'm still on the theme of you as a 26-year-old entrepreneur, right?
Thank you.
So what would be the defining core principles or principle on which you want to found your company? Beyond the idea, beyond the execution, what would be the principle to define your company that's important to you?
Well, I think for me personally, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, partly due to my involvement in philanthropy over a period of time, I'm always additionally excited when an idea can, in its fulfillment, make a difference. And that is either bring prosperity to a part of a community or change the quality or enhance the quality of life of a certain segment. These are additionally exciting, not just making money. The other is where you do something that's a game changer. And that's the most exciting thing if you find your idea is changing the way people live, think, or sustain themselves. This is extremely invigorating, to me much more than the returns you have.
And now I actually have a serious question, okay? So now we have the idea, there's a manifesto for the company. What would you look for in an investor? And it's serious because I want to learn. It's a bit self-serving, that's why it's serious.
Okay, let me just reflect a bit, jumping to the investor. The investors, in some ways, and I haven't thought this through, but it just struck me as you were talking, is like a talent scout in a music company. You get musical groups who are doing their best to impress that talent scout. And perhaps he can't really put down in numbers what kind of returns this group would get. But he intuitively feels that this group is really going to go. And he can't define why he's saying that, but that he feels that this can really happen, and he mentally conjures up a plan of concerts and recordings and such that he can package this group to be. And I think one looks for an investor that has a similar sort of excitement over what one is trying to do, and is ready to not only risk his money but participate in the journey that has taken, using his contacts, using his mentorship, etc., to make this work. Not just plain numbers, because I think there's a lot of intuitive inputs that most of us don't give enough attention to, where we have to put ourselves in the exciting role that the entrepreneur feels, and hopefully come to the conclusion that yes, this is an exciting field.
So that brings follow on to role of capital and growth. One of the big challenges for entrepreneurs today is how much money to raise, how fast should I grow, how much should I focus on sort of capturing market, where do I balance that from needs of profitability and sustainable revenue models. And there are no equations or formulas to say this is the path. And it seems like companies do counterintuitive things and they still succeed. And however, that success doesn't apply all the time to everybody. So growth versus profitability and aggressively raising capital, how do you find equilibrium of those pulling gears?
As you say, there is no single fit that fits all. It's very difficult in these last 2-3 years. Companies that I've looked at have grown at rates that I couldn't possibly have believed could happen. And the next thing is, can those growth rates be sustained? Because you can have high burn rates initially, and then they taper off and become albatrosses around your neck. So that's something that's at a rate and pace that I'm not familiar with. It's exceedingly high for someone coming from the smokestack and conventional industries. But again, one has to be humbled, because there are some companies that do this and sustain this and continue to be innovative, and there are others that fall by the wayside, that they burn out much faster than they could. So I can't make a comment on that. Again, it's intuition in terms of how you think it gets implemented, and a close monitoring of what's happening.
So going on then, today all over the world we are CEOs focus on building personal brands, and sometimes it's hard to separate the brand and the company. Maybe Richard Branson started it all, I don't know. He's the first original brand, at least I knew, from a CEO who drives it so hard, and the company and the person cannot be separated. And how important do you think it is for a startup CEO to focus on creating a personal brand inseparable from the company? Is that a distraction? Is that additive? Is that personal vanity?
It's very difficult to decide what it is. I think.
Well, what would you do?
I'm a very shy person, and you're giving me a lot of visibility. So I wouldn't want to build my brand. I would find that difficult to do. But I think a brand has to be built. If it's a corporate brand, it's just the same thing. There's some people who inevitably leave their personal brand on a company, and it works for some people, it doesn't work for others. And I can't make a comment that's more specific than that.
That's a good comment. This is all about your journey as a 26-year-old entrepreneur, remember? So you have built large institutions, an inherited legacy that you have heightened and have left behind a legacy of institutions that everyone is impacted in one way or the other and look up to. But as a young entrepreneur then, when you think ahead in terms of building long-term institution versus selling, then there's a great offer on the table. And again, I know that there is no right answer, but how would you approach thinking through that? When to sell, when to focus on building that legacy?
Building the legacy that you would sell, or?
No, you have an offer. Somebody wants your company. Somebody's going to buy. We have Kunal Shah here, I think. He sold his company for $500 million, which was a great choice he made. And then somebody else may or may not have made that choice and say, I want to build my company into a 50-year-old institution. I want to build the next IBM, although I don't think you start with that. I want to build a 100-year institution. But nonetheless, every entrepreneur faces this moment, and Mukesh is here. He sold to Flipkart and is continuing to build his brand through Flipkart. Every entrepreneur faces that journey. Should I sell my company? Should I continue to build it? What would be some framework, if any, through which they should think about that? Is it just around value for shareholders? Is it future risk? Is it how much of what you want to do should factor into that? And you know?
Well, the only way I can address what you're saying is to give you my living example, if you like. When I took over the chairmanship of the Tata Group, the media was rife with statements of Tata's have 80 companies, there's no focus, what are your core businesses, etc. And so, driven in part by that, in part by reality, I started to put together a plan of rationalizing the group into a smaller number of businesses, which meant getting rid of some of the businesses that didn't make sense. Amongst those businesses that seemed to stand alone and was not part of what I thought Tata stood for was our toiletries business. Tata Oilmills, as it was called, Tomco. And Tomco was the company that had a rival, which was Unilever's, exceedingly established company, which was the market leader, and we were maybe a 25% market share company in the same business. And I negotiated what I thought was a very dignified sale to Unilever's, which gave the shareholders a very good stock to hold, the Unilever stock. We had a standstill on getting rid of any employee for 3 years, and distributors the same. So I thought I had done a terrific thing. But my God, the next day, the media descended on me, the stock market descended on us. I was the new guy that had come along just to make change for the sake of change. Employees that were second generation, third generation employees, I'd let them down. And with that, very quietly, my rationalization plan disappeared. Nobody really suffered from that plan, but my self-confidence in being able to do this disappeared. So I think there's no easy way. In some cases it's looked at positively, and in some cases the heavens descend on you in a not so pleasant manner.
So we serve many constituents, and getting them all right is a big balancing act, especially when you are 26 and you have all these investors who have ideas of their own, and that's part of the journey.
It's also, maturity has a lot to do with it. You know better that it's not as easy to do things, that you have to communicate what you want to do, and And I think when you're young, you take a lot more for granted than you do when you get up in the age.
I can relate to the communication part, sitting in many board meetings. And that brings me to one of the other questions. Any thoughts on how young companies should constitute their boards and their advisors beyond obviously just investors who give them money and hence have an obligatory board seat? Is that important in the journey of the company, especially when they're small? Any thoughts and advice on that?
No, but what I can say is that successful companies go through great pains to communicate with all their stakeholders, not just their board of directors, but their stakeholders. Nobody likes to wake up to a surprise. And some company CEOs don't believe in, they consider communication to be giving away a part of the company in terms of surprise, in terms of competitiveness, etc. But I think the judicial, but an active system of communication to all stockholders and stakeholders is a great plus which successful CEOs do very well. And I think it's very much a key to how the world sees you, is how you communicate yourself to the world.
Yeah, lessons in communication are not taught in engineering school, I know that. So you have to learn it the hard way. And I don't know, I haven't looked up if there's a Coursera course for that or not. Maybe there is. But you already told us that you're a shy person, but I have to ask you this question. You have a company, you have an idea, all of that has worked fantastic, you have a very successful startup. So how do you celebrate, how do you party? Yeah, you don't know that part of you, so. Zia might know, she's laughing. So.
Yeah, I think the people in this room know better than I do, both how to party and how to celebrate.
But you must celebrate, so tell us one of those moments where, a moment that you cherished from a business perspective, and what's memorable about that?
Oh, there have fortunately been several such things. There have also been several failures.
But we won't talk about that today. Today's a very special day. So there's no failure, there's only success. So.
Well, maybe the one moment that I had, which would be my moment in the sun, was the launching of the Nano. Okay, the positive part of it. And and many of you know that I used to spend my time in boring board meetings making caricatures of my fellow directors. Some of my sketches have been stolen from me and blackmail threatened and so on. And the Nano had its genesis at such a board meeting.
Okay. It resembled a board member?
No, I left him out of the picture. But it was actually it was in Bangalore that it started. Driving behind a scooter that had 4 or 5 people on it, on a day that it started to drizzle and the roads were slippery. And we saw an accident, somebody flipped over and the family sort of lying on the street. That led me to doodle about how to make a two-wheeler safer, which in turn led to the creation of the concept of an affordable car for a family and a team to manufacture that car, first design the car at the price level that we had offered. And then using the Auto Expo in Delhi to launch the car. And that launch itself was a tremendous moment of coordinating sort of a holographic display and to bring music into it and so on. And I drove the car onto the stage, which in itself turned out to be almost a disaster because as I drove out, I realized that there were no lights, and where the stage stopped and where the audience started was and I was supposed to stop the car on a motorized turnabout that would, when the lights came on, the car would be there. And I was supposed to stop the engine before the music stopped because what a letdown it would be if this tremendous symphony music stopped and then you heard the so in those moments of glory, or rather in the moments of apprehension, there was a period of glory because in the 100-odd years of the group, there wasn't any one significant project or product that elevated the group in terms of visibility than this one occasion. What happened after that, both in terms of the special lady in West Bengal who made things change, etc., that was the long downhill slide that took place. But that particular moment was a terrific moment for anybody's inner feelings.
You know, it's you know, I've always wanted to read your biography, and you don't have one. And if you do bring out with one, I hope you will do a book reading and launch here. We have this place already. And because I've always, you know, wanted to know the making of Mr. Ratan Tata. So maybe you let me ask you a few questions. And I've been asking questions, I know, but I've been asking the detailed questions, I think. So, what's the one thing you wish you had known when you were 26?
Why is 26?
I'll tell you, because 30 is too old to be an entrepreneur today in, you know, this mindset. Okay, remember, I told you I was at this, I've been in 2 campuses in 1 month, Kharagpur and Mumbai, but just kind of generally, okay? So people want to be under 30, not that it's too old any time. How many of you are entrepreneurs here? Oh geez, okay. I am known to put my foot into my mouth, but okay. And I think that 25 you're not wise enough. So I had to pick a year, so I just picked 26 for no other reason. So there's nothing special about 26, but I just had to pick something.
Yeah,
I could say 45.
So how many are at age 26 here?
You know, when you were younger, and I think we actually asked this question of all our catalysts to put it on the website. So if you go and look at the website, I think we asked this question. Meeta, how did we frame this for the catalyst?
The one thing I wish I'd known when I was 25.
Yeah, so 1 year younger, and there are all the answers. And Thea, what did you say you wanted to know? What?
She has forgotten. You put it down on a public website, Zia. So part of that idea was when we reflect back, and I think Anil said, I wish I had known how important India would become when I was 25. What would you do with it? Maybe none of us know, but it's really more about asking for a reflection of just what is it that you didn't know then that you know now. That's sort of really the framework of the question.
But very broadly, when one was at that age, I was a young employee in Jamshedpur with ideas. I always used to go to whoever was my boss at that time to ask why we couldn't do something this way or that way. And the answer would be, you know, just wait. Don't be so eager. We know what we're doing. We've been doing this for 30 years. And so just quietly go back and do what you are supposed to do. And so I yearned for an environment where one could be heard and when one had an idea. And maybe I didn't know how to frame my question or my idea to someone. But whatever it was, I think how you communicate is something that you wish you could have done better at that time.
Goes back to communication again.
Yep. And maybe a little bit of overconfidence and ego that one shouldn't have had.
But it's the age to have it. And the age not to have it is now. So, where I am. So, anyone you have admired and looked up to in your life? I mean, many people I'm sure, but someone that really stands out iconically for you, as you do for many of us?
Yeah, that's an easy one to answer. There are 2 or 3 people that have inspired me tremendously. One, of course, was my predecessor, J.R.D. Tata, who left his mark very firmly on the industrial community in India, and was a tremendous mentor to me in the years we worked together. But 2 in the United States who I looked up to and became very close to. One was Mr. Schott, who was the chairman of Cummins and Rabino's in Well, who continues to be a particular personal friend and mentor even today. And the other was Amar Bose, who formed the Bose Corporation. And he and I really became very close, not publicly friendly. We shared a lot of things together. We spent many hours together exchanging ideas. And these 3 gentlemen have had a profound influence on the way I think or the manner in which I look at the world around me.
So one question that on my personal journey, I feel I'm exploring this question more and more, so I'll ask you. You know, without planning or without any concentrated effort, I think we have about, I have to count correctly, but 6 or 7 women co-founders who are just spectacular. You know, I am inspired by them every time, by their energy, by their forcefulness to take life to where they want to take it. And, you know, it's very different from when I began my journey at 16 as an engineering student, unwanted on campus, or so I felt at least. And then going on to primarily working in a male-dominated world. But, you know, so I've been reflecting on this
a lot, which I didn't in my younger years, on how do we create more leaders. Is there really a gender divide? Is there not? And maybe it's an unfair question to ask you, but to serve the constituency that I do want to serve, I would ask you to say, is there, from all the years of observation you have, more that can be done to inspire women, to create women leadership? And let's put that in the context of just India, so we at least filter the problem. Any thoughts you would offer on that?
No, in many ways, you look at India and you say politically, women have reached the top faster than, and it's been more so than it might be in other countries. And the boardroom and enterprise-wise, there have been women that have stood out. But it's true, there are less of them than you would expect. And they're very rational, and when they're in those positions, they aren't lacking anything in terms of leadership. So there's no reason why it shouldn't happen. And I think we just will see more and more of women leaders in companies as we go forward.
I want to take a moment and really thank you for on behalf of all the entrepreneurs for the last, I think, 2 years, where you have been deeply engaged with the startup ecosystem and the personal support you have given to Kalari portfolio companies, and now to K-Start initiatives, and perhaps you know and perhaps you don't, on the degree of impact and courage it gives to me, gives to many others, when we feel that little bit of support. And I want to thank you personally for that support and encouragement.
Thank you, Bani, and I need to say the experience that I've had in working with you and some of the companies that you have helped float and start and grow has been a very important part of my learning process in this, and I value the interaction, I value the innovativeness that accompanies many of the companies that we've worked with, and it's one way to bring me closer to 26 again. It's really been an invigorating experience and a wonderful means of transitioning from working in older traditional companies, having retired and having the pleasure and the fun of working with innovative young people. So it's great, and thank you for giving me that opportunity.
You're very gracious, sir. Like I said, it's been our pleasure and privilege, but thank you very much. I'm going to bring you back to stage for a few minutes, but for now, I'm going to invite Raghava, and we close this part of the session. Let me just start introducing Raghava. And
thank you.
Raghava came on board to curate the space and create the art that you see here and bring to life the space. And Raghava will take just a few minutes to share his experience. If you're in this room, we made the seats packed tight so that you can't move till the session is over. Each session is only about an hour long, and we wanted to maximize number of people who can be here. We only have 10 more minutes left for the session, so that the session can continue smoothly. If you can please wait. And Raghava, where are you?
Yeah.
All colorfully dressed up, yeah? So, someone has been a good friend, someone I've learned a lot from, someone, who's been like a younger brother and a great friend. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, I am the co-founder of the Recollective, and could I have the clicker? Thank you. I'm the co-founder of the Recollective, an artist residency program. So one of the things that really drives me is to really bring art, science and technology together. And so to take art outside the gallery into the real world. So I found artists like myself who are excited to bring together art, science and technology just like this world. There you go. So one of the things we did, for example, over the last 10 years is to make a children's book. And every time you shake it, it changes the narrative from a linear, changes the story so that we don't have any linear narratives. This is an art project I made, a painting that stares back at you when you look at it. And if you feel sad, it starts feeling sad. It actually reads your biofeedback and actually reflects, it's an emotional mirror. This is another work where we had an entire opera that was conducted by brainwaves and art that emerged from the conductor. Now I run a tech incubator where I try and look at visual intelligence. It's a completely different form of knowing. And I think art is a very important form of knowing. My co-founder Shiloh takes art into Burning Man, into public spaces, into streets. She has the Fearless Collective, where she actually works with conflict-ridden spaces. A bunch of young women artists go to Pakistan, to extremely conflict-ridden places, and collaborate with people there to create art. This is the group of artists that came to K-Star. So I met Vani at both TED and at Lakshmi's Inc. I see Lakshmi here. And when Vani came to me and said, I want you to engineer a space that will foster and nurture creativity, we jumped at that opportunity because we love doing things like that. And so what we did was we put a bunch of artists together to do a residency in this space for an entire month, along with the architect Sunita, who is over there. And we worked together to really dream up a creative space. But let me tell you one problem with creativity. Creativity is not thinking outside the box. That's the Industrial Revolution definition of creativity. There is no box. Creativity in a networked age is actually connecting dots and building boxes and things where there were none. And in this networked age, there's no linearity. The promise of this age is if you connect the right dots, it's exponential. You have 1 + 1 = 2, 5, 10 million. So that's exactly what we wanted to do here. We brought different dots, artists, technologists, writers, poets, structural engineers, software engineers to come together to dream up this space. And we had a lot of fun, as you can see, doing that. And we wanted to transform the space into a space for artists, musicians. That's Monica Dogra here at one of our art openings. So we had 3 important rules. The first rule was that whatever we did was something we could not do by ourselves. It had to be ridiculously ambitious. Okay? So this LED wall, which is there in the other room, is a collaboration between 5 people living in 5 different cities around the world. There was an artist, a structural engineer, an architect, a software engineer, an electrical engineer, a fabricator coming together to design this collaborative LED wall. What's special about this is that the collaboration continues because it's only a platform for the entrepreneurs here to hack into. Once you hack into this, you start controlling this and you start talking to each other. So we really wanted to build hackathons based on the space. The second rule was nobody's work is precious. You know, artists take themselves sometimes too seriously. So what we did was I was allowed to draw on Shiloh's work. Shiloh was allowed to draw on Nickel Moray's work. We all were allowed to scribble on each other's work. And what emerged was something that was grander than what I could have created or Shiloh could have created. The third rule was that the art cannot be just decorative. It had to come to life. So if you notice, a lot of the works here are interactive. That tree there behind you, for example, if you go closer to it, it starts lighting up. It senses people around it, like the ancient trees. And there's the there are these beautiful shrines to the larger geoforces of nature. These works, what they do is they take the Milky Way, the movement of the Milky Way, the beating of the ocean in the Bay of Bengal, and we have sensors all over, and they collect data from the internet through different weather channels, and then they data visualize them in the form of art projects. And these are all hackable. And so what was really important is that we create a space which will have to be maintained by the founders over here. And they will collaborate not on just building companies, but building experiences together. And in this room I know are probably the smartest people, the big unicorns of India. And you've been able to beat Moore's law. You've been able to collect data like never before. But then how amazing it would be if an artist collaborated with you to bring that data to life, to tell a story with that data. So we are today launching with at Kalari, at K-Star, the Recollective. The Recollective is a bunch of artists that will do residencies with technology companies, with technologists, and to reimagine and create artistic spaces. So now I want to call up here Shiloh Sheikh Suleiman, my co-founder. Extremely talented. Can you believe the entire space was done in 1 month by artists living here, literally. So it's a very exciting place. So we want to show you a short video that shows you the process, because the product is only part of the journey. Can we restart it? Restart! Beyond the bits, and thank you so much. Beyond the bits and bytes, I think it's storytelling and creativity that makes us human and at the core of our humanity. Thank you, Mani, for this opportunity.
First of all, thank you so much, Raghava. I've seen every day the energy, the work, the tireless work day and night, zombied out of here every day, and I really want to thank you for this energetic, vibrant space that you have created. I love it. How many of you have walked around? I don't know. Give us, what do you think? If I might, I'd like you, sir, to come and facilitate the team that worked on this space. So, I'd like you to come back on the stage. I know it means a lot to them. I promised them this every time they were tired. I said, look, you're going to get to meet Mr. Tata, and that was that. So to get them to work.
Very impressive. Thank you so much.
For Raghava, the tireless artist. Hello. Really inspired me. If I might call Sunita and Bijoy. It says here Sri Kumar Gopinathan. I don't know who that is. Pancho, where did you come up with that name? Come here, come here. Nobody knew this name. I said, who's that? Because he goes by Pancho. Where are you hiding? Come out here. Where is Sandesh? And all the food today is curated by Sandesh, so watch out for him. That's it. Thank you, sir. This is the end of this session. Network, walk around the space, eat some food. We come back here at 1:30.